Hi guys, and welcome back to our podcast LollyQ. I am Lorien and that is Q, and today we will be talking about the world, I guess. We're just going to be having a nice chat about where we would go in the world and why. We might dabble a bit in the fantasy realms, but we'll see how the conversation flows. So do you want to say anything before we get started, Q?
Yes, I mean the whole reason for this is basically because we're in a pandemic and we have nowhere to go. A lot of us haven't traveled in a while. A lot of us haven't traveled at all. I mean, I think I've been out of South Africa once, and it's really nice to just take a second and just imagine and play around with like what you would do and where you would go, just have some fun with it. We can only dream at this point.
Yeah, at this point. Yeah, no, I totally understand. I mean, I've been out of the country. Like, okay, so to be fair, I've been out of the country once when I was actually like a teenager, and then the rest of the time I was overseas. I was a baby, small, so I don't remember most of it. I mean, my family used to live in Saudi Arabia. We went to Cyprus on holidays.
Wait, your family used to live in Saudi? What?
Yeah, my dad was working there as an engineer, so he took the whole family with.
I had no idea.
I lived there. I lived there for, I think it was like a while. I had friends and it was a few years. Like, it was a good chunk of my like baby years, I guess.
I'm flabbergasted because I don't. Maybe you mentioned it once, but like,
I probably did, but like it was so long ago that you don't really remember
conversations, if that's possible.
Too many facts to remember about someone. So I've been out of the country, but like I don't remember that like living overseas.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I was like 4, so I have like vague memories that I'll like be like like. For instance, I remember the one time we were in the compound, so it's like obviously where all the expats live, and there was a public pool that we would go to, and I remember, I used to like swimming a lot.
Love a good public pool.
yeah. So we went there, and I remember this. I was like 3 or 4, right? And I was very sassy as a child. I feel like I still am, but my mom will tell you stories about me as a child. And I remember this because I injured myself. I still have the scar under my chin. Oof. So I thought I was big brain. I was like the smartest kid at this pool. I was gonna jump into the pool backwards.
Oh no.
Only 4-year-old me didn't realize how close the edge of the pool was, so I knocked my chin
oh god.
on the edge of the pool, and I started bleeding. And we went home, we put a plaster on, and we went back to the pool, and I just started swimming again. So if that's anything, that's like one of the things I remember about my time there. And then we were in Cyprus. We had holidays there, which was really nice. But other than and then I was in 2014. I went with a friend to America. We had a Florida holiday, really fun. I got to go to Disney World and Universal Studios, and I actually absolutely died.
Oh, that's
it was the coolest thing. I got to meet the Grinch, which is amazing. Stitch licked my face, in the pre-Rona time.
Wait,
he was the best.
When you say Stitch licked your face,
no,
did he have a
suit,
tongue that was part of the suit?
No. It was just the marks in the licking motion.
Yeah, I was just wondering about the physics of that.
no. So that was fun. I got to meet Peter Pan, which was also just
lovely.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Because so me and my friend, we were obviously chatting in Afrikaans to each other because that's our default language to go to. And we're standing in the queue to meet Peter Pan now. And I remember we were talking, and he's like, what language? So we get to the front, he's like, what language are you speaking? I'm like, no, we're speaking Afrikaans. Like, so what, it was like, where are you from? We're like, we're from South Africa. And he's like, oh, South Africa? Do you guys ride elephants? And I'm like, I'm one of those people who are like, you know what, I'm gonna go with this. And I was like, no, we don't ride elephants, they're a bit too slow. So we do, we take cheetahs and lions, and that's how we get around.
Oh my god, did he flip and believe you?
I don't think so, but you never know. But I think I was very convincing. It was quite funny.
I mean, fair play. You know, I wouldn't want to ride an elephant to school. Like, if I'm going for like a leisurely ride, yeah, you know.
Yeah.
But to school in the traffic with all the other elephants, like going.
Nah.
Nah.
It's just put a saddle on a cheetah and there you go.
Yeah.
No. And then he was like, "Oh, can you teach me to say something in Afrikaans?" And he's like, how do you say sword in Afrikaans? And I'm like, yes, I'm racking my brain to think of the word. I gave it to him. I'm not going to say it now because I hate it. It's such an ugly word. I hate it.
Okay, now I have to know though.
It's no, I'm not. I'll tell you after.
Okay.
Like, for all of you, I'm not going to tell you because I really hate the word. It just sounds disgusting.
That's understandable.
Yeah, so I gave him the word and he's like, "Oh, this is so cool." And he's just like walking around, "Look at my sword, look at my..." And I'm like, Peter Pan, you are the coolest and also the stupidest character here.
I really thought you were going to go the Charlize Theron route there and just teach him the foulest thing you could teach him. Which...
No, he asked me
know.
for the sword thing. So I was
but
like,
you could have
okay,
told
I'll
him
play
it
along.
was something very
Yeah,
different.
I could have, but I was what,
He's a boy.
17 at the
Okay,
time.
true.
So I
And
mean,
he's
I'm not
Peter
gonna
Pan.
swear in
I
front
would
of my
feel-
friend's parents.
Yeah, I would feel bad.
Yeah, so that was like my one trip outside that I remember. Yeah, in South Africa, how have you traveled around? Have you traveled around South Africa?
I've definitely traveled around. You know, my friends and I pre-Rona used to go to a lot of festivals. There's like the mid-year ones and the end-of-year ones were the best because then you don't have to deal with the sadness of going home and going back into your regular life. But you know, we would take like 3-hour drives. We've been to what is that place with the W? It's not Windhoek. It's way further out. Anyway,
I know Windhoek's in Namibia, right?
Yeah, I know.
Okay, I wasn't sure.
Yeah, it's like the only other W name that came into my head. What is the W? Okay, I can't remember.
All I can think of is like Walvis Bay or something like that.
Anyway,
I don't even know if that's a real place. It sounds familiar,
it
but
does sound familiar. Anyway, but yeah, it's always like 3.5 hour drives out, and then it's like some foresty place with like lagoons and stuff like that, and lakes.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, it is nice. It's nice to be like in the middle of nature for a bit. You know, I never thought I would be a person that enjoyed camping. But I do. As well, it depends the level of camping. You know, at these places, like you kind of have two options for facilities. There's either like if you're lucky enough to have a built facility, like, you know, concrete, actual working plumbing,
like a
toilets,
proper
showers.
ablution block.
Yes. I think I was lucky enough where my first and second experiences had those available. I was like, wow, you know, this camping thing's not too bad, hey? Shoot, this is cool, you know? And then, oh god, the second and I think the third and fourth ones, they had porta potties. Which I'm not gonna get into because that is the devil. With 1,000 other people, all using the same facilities, it's not a good time.
No.
And they had these like porta showers as well. So like, but those weren't bad, I will say. You know,
Okay.
It was.
I feel like a portaloo versus a porta shower.
Yeah, because
it's a different.
Yeah, it's a different story altogether. I mean, it kind of was like, imagine yourself in a big plastic box.
Yeah, no, I know.
Yeah.
I can see it. I'll tell you now.
Okay.
what we used to do at camp. So the one camp we went to every year, when I was in high school, we would build our like showers every year. Like, okay, but we didn't. It depended on what year you were in. So like the grade 11s and 12s were usually the ones who were there
The
first.
grade 7s
and
are
they
not
would
qualified to build their own showers.
No, because they came later. They had other starting dates basically for the camp. So obviously in grade, I think it was grade 10, 11 and 12 were the ones that got there early to help out and set up the camp. Because everything was literally packed into 2 containers. Like the whole camp was in 2 containers.
Oh, that's crazy.
So with the showers, we had to build them. So it was essentially just like these metal frames with like sail what are they, like sheets, ground sheets,
Okay.
those plastic prawn sails.
Oh yes, I know what you're
What
talking
it is
about. Like,
in
is it
English.
like the kind of stuff you lay down?
Those
under
camping
your,
sheets.
Yes, under your
Yes,
tents.
yes.
Okay.
Yeah, those things. So those were like the partitions essentially.
Yes.
That made up like a cubicle. But it was like the ones you get at outdoor warehouse, which is they zip up and down.
Oh, that's so clever.
So it's like an actual thing. So they got like a few of
Yeah.
those, and we had showers. So then we had a bucket that was tied by a pulley. So you hooked it into the grate at the bottom. So you had to go and fetch your water from like the water thing. So, but the nice thing is because it was like April, it was still pretty warm.
Oh, that's nice.
It would have been like now.
Yeah.
So it was still pretty warm. So we would either shower so it depended also like when your groups got shower times. So the best time to shower was like in the middle of the day when it was hot, because you fill your bucket up with cold water. You go back to the shower and you just shower under this cold water. You cool down, but then you have to put on your clothes again, and it's still dusty and ugh. But it's still so good. And I remember the one year my friend and I were like on patrol duty, I guess, Wachstaan, which is like just making sure that everyone, like, nothing weird's going on.
I just
camps.
laugh at the fact that, like, you know, your kids, and there's like all the kids and whatever, but like 2 17-year-olds, you know, are basically put in charge of making sure that no one else is doing any funny business.
Okay, to be fair, we did have adults on the camp. And
No,
they were
of
like,
course.
it was just like, it was part of the course,
Yeah.
and, you know, just like, because we were doing camp safety,
Yeah.
so we were like stationed at the camp.
I just know if it was me and, you know, I saw some funny business going on, I'd just be like, hey.
Can I tell you?
I cannot see.
So there was a lion farm next door.
What?
Right. So across the
A
road.
lion farm.
A lion.
I did
farm,
not-
or like a lion sanctuary. It wasn't a
Okay.
farm.
You know, do you say farm? I'm picturing you like you know, people planting lions. The crops are
No, so
very.
it was
The crops are roaring this
actually.
year. Sorry.
No, so it was a sanctuary. It wasn't a farm. But it's because we just say the Dilio blast.
Okay, I see.
So it's just direct translation there. So anyway, so you can hear them like in the middle of the evening when you're here sitting on a freaking rock at 2 o'clock in the morning, and you hear these lions because sound travels so well
Yes.
over in the evening. You're sitting there, you're like, oh my gosh, these lions are like right next to me. I'm gonna get killed now. And that was the worst.
I can
honestly.
imagine. Like your brain always goes to, what if one of them breaks out?
Exactly.
Oh.
So yeah, that's my experience with like. So I traveled a lot in South Africa for camps. During
That's so
my
cool.
footrecker years. I did a sea camp once in Sedgefield, I think it was, which is freaking cold in the we went in the winter, and when we went there it was like one of the colder winters, like one of the coldest winters at that time that they'd experienced at that camp. Like I remember one of my friends put a glass of water outside the one evening, and it was frozen solid the next morning because we were at a flay as well, and across the flay were the mountains, and they were covered in snow, so it was really freaking cold. It was really
That's so
really
cool,
cold.
though. I've never experienced snow like personally, so I've always wanted to just. I know the snow we often get is not the kind of snow that you would ideally make a beautiful picturesque snowman with. It's a lot of slush mostly, but like I just wanna, you know, have you ever seen those videos of people just jumping into like a huge I just want to do that. I just want to do that so badly.
Okay, funny story. So
Yes.
I've actually done that.
Yeah, bitch.
So it was in grade 9. My friend and I were going on a hiking trip with a group of people to the Drakensberg, and it was also one of these, for some reason it was the coldest weekend as well for that month, which is August. It was over Women's Day, I think?
Okay,
that
yeah,
long
the
weekend
9th.
in August. Yeah, and we went and it started snowing the night before we left. So on the way to the Drakensberg, we were driving through all these mountainous areas, and it was just covered in snow, like covered. So we stopped off at an engine, like, you know, as a midway point. Obviously we stopped before that, but you know, we stopped at the engine, and this, like, it was one of those nicer engines that had like a nice like area, because it's a travel stop, so there was a lot of like thick snow, and we ended up having a snowball fight, and we jumped in it. But can I say, hiking through snow is not fun.
I can imagine.
So everything's wet, and yeah, you got to keep your feetsies warm.
can imagine, like, I don't think I've ever had the right equipment that would last through snow, honestly. I don't care. I would go in there and just get wet, honestly, just for the experience. I've always wanted to.
Yeah.
But yeah.
No, it was loads of fun. So yeah, I've seen, like, mainly we went out more, like, the sites. I've been to the Northwest a few times. I've been obviously to Sedgefield. I lived in Cape Town for a while, so I mean, my friend and I went to Hermanus for like a day trip. We went to Hermanus, we had some fun, we just like strolled on the beach, and yeah, so I've done like little things like that. So I haven't really explored like properly, I think, but that's just because I'm lazy and I like my house. I like being at home, and going out is like such a mission.
Yeah, I've mostly like traveled around the coast. I don't think I've really gone inland mostly. Like, we've been to Hermanus a lot. I remember, like, when you finish matric, the whole thing is like, plit. You want to go to
plit rage.
Plit rage. So, I don't know. I think two of our classmates had holiday houses in Hermanus. And we were a small school. It was like, we didn't even have 50 kids in our grade.
Hectic.
Yeah. So we were like, that's enough. We could fit like 20 peeps in each house. Barely. So our whole thing was like, okay, cool, yeah, we'll go to Hermanus, Hermanus rage. Oh, we're built different. Oh, we thought we were so cool. So yeah, we basically went over there. There was a lot of house switching and whatever, but it was great. Well, like 40, 18-year-olds unsupervised for like a week is not the best.
It's not the best.
There's a lot of shenanigans and like people leaning out too far over the balconies,
the stress,
running into the roads.
Oh my goodness.
And the rest of us are just trying to have a good time.
No, because we had the equivalent of like the plet rage here, which is Klein Kariba is an Articofia like holiday destination. Okay. So at the end of every year they had like a matric special. I don't know what there was a name for it, but I can't remember. I didn't go because like you said, it's a bunch of 18, that too, but it's a bunch of 18-year-olds doing their own thing, and honestly I was like, no, it's fine. So me and my best friend actually went to Brits, and we had like our own little weekend there.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, so South Africa wise, I haven't traveled that much, just because I am a homebody. I like my house. I like just chilling at home and being where my stuff is.
Fair, honestly. Look, I will say that a huge part of the traveling is the people. You could honestly go on a solo road trip, which sounds kind of cool, kind of eat, pray, lovey, But I definitely think I would at least like one other person with me.
I wouldn't. It's more that I don't want to go to like these rages.
Okay, yeah,
like
no.
But if
I
it's
think
like
of road
me
trip,
and my
not...
group of friends were to decide, let's go down to Cape Town for a week, it's a different situation.
No, completely.
It's not these 18-year-olds.
Yeah.
Like I'll go on trips, I don't mind, but I like to go with people. I think that's also just a big motivating factor. Like I like to go with people who I can, I don't have to be weird. Like, when you meet someone for the first time and you don't really know how to connect with them, so you're very awkward and you just don't know what to say. So I don't want to deal with all that. So I'd rather go with people I know.
Understandable.
Yeah. So, yeah, and I mean that's the same I think for international travel as well. I don't mind going overseas with a friend or a group of friends that were like, oh, let's go travel through Germany for a month. Not that I have the finances to support that, but you can dream, and especially not in this pandemic at the moment.
But that's the point of this podcast. We can dream, baby.
Yeah. So, I think if you had the finances and the pandemic wasn't a thing, where do you think you'd want to go?
Well, we were talking about like South Africa. I think, look, for nostalgic purposes, and it's kind of boring. Like I would go around South Africa, but I kind of would. Like I would just love to. I really am a fan of like the coastal road trips that we did go on. I think it was a couple, maybe like 3 or 4 years ago. A group of my friends and I went down to the southernmost tip of Africa, and it was just me and some boys. So it wasn't your usual road trip, and it was kind of, I don't know, the whole experience was kind of romantic almost, because it's like this is the southernmost tip of Africa, like this is the place that all those like travelers stopped at,
Yeah.
all my Portuguese ancestors who came and went around and discovered the world, that's where they stopped at, and it's funny because it sounds so romantic and whatever, but in reality it's like this quiet, super Afrikaans town, like the Dorpie, and it's just like these huge shops, and like nothing, and there's just like beach. We stayed at a backpackers, which was cool. I definitely think it's a great experience if you like to interact with strangers.
Yeah.
I don't mind. I think now I'm definitely more social and capable, but again, I think it's also a matter of like, you don't know who these people are.
Exactly.
So like, they could be anyone. So I think in these situations, like having a group of friends with you is really great, because yes, it gives you that room to meet people and like hang out and communicate, but you have that layer of like safety that like we have the numbers essentially, in case these people turn out to be absolute weirdos.
Exactly.
But yeah, it was a really nice experience. Like it was so charming. Like I like those little towns at the edge of places in South Africa. They're really great. So yeah, I mean we stayed at the backpackers. We went out for like meals. We went fishing, but a really scuffed form of fishing. Like the boys just bought. They went down to one of the shops and they bought like wire.
Yeah.
And bait, and that was it.
Oh my soul.
And then we went down and I caught a fish. I was one of 2 that caught fishes.
Nice.
Fish. And I had the biggest fish, I will say.
Impressive. I find fishing very boring. I don't understand how people can just sit there and fish.
Fair. I think I like the idea of it. I like the idea of sitting alone or with a person and like your little boat, and you have like a couple of beers, you have a book maybe, and you just
I feel like
relax.
you don't need to fish to do that. You can just take a boat and just go out and sit on the water with. You don't need to fish.
Okay, you have a point. You have a point. The fishing isn't really like the main activity there. It's the
it's the conversation.
I'm just looking for a break. Okay, good to know. But yeah, it was fun. And I'd like to do something like that again. Just like go around the coast and up to Namibia and stuff like that. Even though that's not part of South Africa, it's like we're adjacent.
Yeah, but I mean it's still part of Southern Africa.
Yeah. And yeah, just make some memes. One of the regrets I have is like not taking enough pictures and like stuff like that, because I mean my memory is real bad, man. It only happened like 3 or 4 years ago, but I have these like snapshots in my head, but like when it comes to remembering full moments, I'm so bad, But anyway, that's one of the places I want to go. What about you? What's one of your places?
Well, you see, I do want to see a bit more of South Africa. I'd like to go to like Knysna and like I'm trying to think what the term is for that area. Like it's Knysna, Plate.
The orange part of the Monopoly board.
Yes, the orange part of the Monopoly board. Just because my sister was there and they went to the Tsitsikamma Woods. And it's just so pretty, and I just want to kind of just go and experience the nature there, mainly for that. So I'd like to just take a trip, down the garden route. That's what it's called.
Yes.
I was like, it's something green.
I understand.
Yeah. So just, take a nice drive, stay along there. That would be pretty cool.
Because not to be cheesy, but like we are super lucky in that we have like amazing nature and amazing places to discover and stuff.
Yeah, but there is still something appealing about traveling overseas as well.
Oh yes.
So if like I do want to travel, like, when everything calms down a bit more overseas, I would really like to go to Asia, specifically like Korea and Japan, just because I have been consuming a lot of their media,
yes,
and I just find their cultures extremely fascinating, and the food looks just to die for.
Yes.
And I think specifically for Japan, I've been wanting to go there for years now, and their tradition, the more I learn about Japan, and the more I kind of just do I do a bit of casual research, just to find out things. So like if I'm watching a show and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna just check out what this thing is, and then I usually go down a rabbit hole, but I always typically tend to do a lot more research into like the mythology and like the stories
interesting
of these places. So like also the religion that they have and what they believe. I'm really interested in seeing those things and kind of just experiencing the culture. And also just like food wise, like I said, their food looks so good. I know that in Asia, like obviously different parts of Asia have different flavors. I know that Korea, as far as I can see, it's quite spicy foods, and I'm not very good with spice. So I am a bit worried if I ever do end up there that I'll have I'm not gonna enjoy the food. But I mean, Japan, as far as I know, is a bit more like on the more mild side. I could be very wrong, but it's not as spicy, which I think I'd rather go to Japan and experience that first, and ease my way into Asian culture, because I'm a bit more familiar with Japanese culture. Like obviously I'm not an expert on it,
but I mean, you consume enough and you research enough, you do start to pick up and understand and respect some of the stuff that you learn. It's very fascinating.
It's extremely fascinating to see, like, also just like cultural differences and how
100%,
how things kind of work differently. Like public transport is a huge factor in Japan, and I'm like, wow, we don't have that here. I mean, we do, but it's not like,
leaves a lot to be desired.
Exactly, and obviously each country has its own issues as well that you need to kind of be aware of. But it's in general, it's a place I would like to see, and also it's very like picturesque, I guess, and very beautiful. And I just want to experience like all the things in those places that is interesting. Like I love to just like I'll sit and look through. Okay, I'm one of those people. I'll sit and look through like pictures of places.
Oh yes,
I'd like to go there. I'll go there just for the spot. And I know like Japan has a lot of like natural waterfalls.
Oh yes.
And really nice forests and things. And I know a lot of their shrines are usually in these like very pretty environments. Like the really nice shrine. I can't say really nice shrines because I'm not an expert. But from what I've kind of researched on shrines,
what makes a bad shrine?
But I think it's more like depending in what prefecture you're in. I think as well. Because I think more like the I don't want to say rural, but the more the country area. The country area where it's a bit more like it's not Tokyo and the big cities. So I think a lot of
I haven't thought about that, like the huge difference between, because I mean we all have that divide between like the city and like the pastoral countryside and whatever. And when you think of Japan, you think mostly of the cityscape, which is really, I mean, I think I saw a video of literally just someone looking out the window, of the hotel they were staying at, and just these huge sky rises and cityscapes and like the billboards that are animated. Okay, can I just say, whenever I see stuff from New York and Vegas and Tokyo and whatever, and they have those giant billboards, it just makes me think of like the future. I don't know, because
No, I get it.
Yeah, our city is a city, but it doesn't look like that. You know, that is just so alive and fast moving and crazy. It makes me feel like an ant just looking at it. You know?
In like Vegas specifically, the reason they have all those lights and things is to keep people awake so that they spend more money at the casinos.
Oh, okay. Psychology.
I could be very wrong, but a lot of Vegas stuff, or casinos in general, because you know how even here in like you've never been to Monte Casino, but you know Grand West Casino, it's got
lit.
the roof is painted.
Yes, I know what you're talking about.
And they keep it very kind of bright and kind of so that you lose track of time. Essentially, that's what they make you do, is they make you lose track of time. Because whenever I walk out of a casino, I always feel like I've been in there for days. So that's why they do that.
I just had a weird epiphany. Also, do you have a problem? Do we need to talk about the gambling? I'm kidding.
No, you know what's stinky? Is that all the fun stuff is in casinos. That's my problem. Like the bowling stuff is in the casinos. The ice rink,
skating,
the arcade is in a casino.
True.
So it's like
it's a ploy. You bring your kids there, and then when your kids are, you know, effing around on the rink, what do? You don't want to just stand there and watch them.
You're gonna go gamble. You're gonna spend all your adult money.
What I was thinking though is, as a kid, I always look up to the ceilings and I was like, wow, this is so cool. Like for everyone who's not in South Africa, like they've painted the ceilings like this weird, like almost like a heavenly cloudscape. You know, where
aren't they frescoes? Isn't that what they're like called? I don't know. I could be wrong.
I don't know what they're called either, but it's so like disorienting. You know, it makes you feel like you're in a different environment entirely. So I completely get now the whole I've never really thought that deeply about it, but the whole psychology behind that makes 1,000% sense.
I don't know where I learned that. I can't remember, but I do remember learning also with restaurants. You can tell the difference in how they get you to stay longer. So like the more fancier restaurants have dimmer lighting, whereas like KFCs and McDonald's have bright lighting.
They want you to leave.
They want you in and out. Whereas the more fancy restaurants will have like a more ambient tone and set a nice atmosphere so that they can keep you there longer. Yeah. So it's just interesting. You know, those differences. But anyway, getting back on track, I wanted to say so you know how you were saying about the person sitting out the window or looking out the window of the hotel and seeing all these things. I've seen like a lot of people on TikTok who go to the shrines and kind of just like, you know, have a meander through the forest there, and they have the water feet, like the lakes. I don't know if it's a lake, but like the rivers that are going through there, and then how they actually get up to the shrine. It's just really pretty, and I'm like, I just want to go there and experience that for myself, because it's just really pretty, and I'm just like a sucker for some picturesque landscapes. But funny enough, I watched this other YouTube channel. It's called Exploring with Fighters. So what they do is they go to abandoned places all over the world and, you know, just take footage and things like that. Not like, they do spooky stuff as well, so, you know, like paranormal stuff, but for the most part they just go to like abandoned houses and abandoned places. And they went to Japan, and they went to
enough sometimes.
And they went to an abandoned amusement park in Japan, and the track to get there was so pretty. Like just that alone was I would go and see that abandoned amusement park just by myself, because it's so pretty.
The concept of an abandoned amusement park sounds so wonderful. Like if you picture, like, I don't know if you've ever played we're getting off track here, sorry, but I recently watched Jacksepticeye. He like years ago did a playthrough of Portal, like Portal 1 and 2. I don't know if you've ever played it.
No.
I remember back in the day, like it was a huge boom for that game, and there was a whole like meme whatever around it, like, you know, and one of the second one has this, basically it's like a huge underground facility, like a lab. And when I'm saying underground, it's like you almost the core of the earth. Like, that's how much they've built.
They've done some weird shit, hey. They've been to some weird place. Like, they explored an old World War II bunker, I think. And they've been to like caves and stuff as well. They've been to wild places, dude. You should check them out. I will. That's also just something cool. I would love to do that. Just, go and see abandoned places. Not in the night. I would never go in the evening because I'm a little baby. I really am. I don't do scary. I hate it.
Yeah. There's these like tunnels apparently under Paris.
The catacombs.
Yes.
Yeah, it's so fun. So I know the catacomb, like parts of the catacomb are built with like skulls and like
which is
actual skeletons. I can't remember why. There was a reason. I can't remember right now what the reason was. But there's all those videos of people going like crazy in the catacombs.
Yes, there's a whole movie dedicated to it, and like there's parts that like we have like no one has ever experienced or gone down to. It goes on for ages. That alone, terrifying.
Yeah.
So cool.
Yeah.
Would love to go. Don't know if I would be able to stand it.
No.
Especially the claustrophobia of it all, like being underground and in such tight spaces.
No. Like it's very cool. Like I'd want to at least set foot in it.
Yes. Just peep one human skull. That's morbid.
Yeah. Yeah, but I wouldn't want to explore. I would be so scared to get lost, honestly. Funnily enough, Paris is not a place I want to go.
Same. I don't really. Well, look. The only appeal for me in Paris is the food, and maybe the art. Like, I'd step foot in the Louvre,
Yeah, Versailles is there as well. I'd love to go see Versailles.
True. But, like, in terms of the big touristy things, like, I don't really care about the Eiffel Tower. It's just a big...
it's a big structure.
Yeah, it's a big metal structure. Woohoo.
Yeah, no. I would go for history, for history's sake.
Yeah.
Just, to see all the, like, places. I'd love to see, like I said, I'd love to go see Versailles. I'd like to just, just see the architecture as well and see all the, just, like, kind of take a walk.
I'd love to go to, like, a little restaurant and just get absolutely shat on by, like, the chef or whatever because I offended them.
By telling them you don't want this.
Yeah. And I just want to have, like, an authentic croissant. And just like eat the good food. I think the food is also a huge thing. Like, for instance, I wouldn't really maybe go to Italy or whatever. Yeah. But I would love to experience some like authentic Italian food. Like, oh my god.
Yeah. On that note, like, I saw a video on, I think it was Facebook, of these how they make like traditional tomato pasta sauce. Like tomato paste that we get. So it was very interesting. So they have like flippin' tubs of tomatoes, right? And they like smush them up. Then they have these tables that are kind of slanted with like a canal. And then they I think they're in the sun, and then they spread the tomatoes out on these like benches, and the water drips down through and goes out these canals so that it's drying the tomatoes. And that's how they make like traditional tomato paste.
That's so cool.
It's but then they've got like 5 like of those big pots of tomatoes, and they end up with like 1 pot of paste.
I see. Well, yeah. Once all the water's gone, that's a huge part of what a tomato is.
Yeah. But it's just cool. I would love to experience like how they do things, like the traditional way they do things. That would be quite a fun thing to do.
I want to watch some old Tanny make her like pasta from hand, like and just smack the absolute life out of that dough and scold me and be like, pass me that, those herbs over there, and I'll be like, yes Tanny, I'm so sorry, and just watch her make magic essentially.
And it's like, it's one of those recipes that's been passed down for generations, and it's never changed since it was in the original, the first time it was made. That is something cool.
There's something so magical about like watching and consuming like cultural food with like history behind it. Like, oh my gosh.
I don't know if you've seen that Turkish coffee, where they're like, the sand is heated and then they pour the coffee into the cup and then they heat the coffee basically with the sand. And that's like, there's a whole bunch of other things that go into it, but it's just really interesting because apparently it's like the best coffee, ever. I don't know. I don't drink coffee, so I can't really judge. But it's just so cool how they make coffee and like how it's also like in Japan they have a tea ceremony, which I would love to just experience.
Yeah.
And just like kind of, see how that works. And
they also have those cafes where you can go play with cats and stuff.
Yes, cat cafes. I would love to. I would die.
I love
the only problem is that I do have a slight allergy to cats.
Me too.
So I was explaining to a friend last night that like I'm fine in the vicinity of a cat. That's fine. I just can't. Yeah, if I can't stuff my face into their hair, and then
which is how I love.
Exactly. I know it's such a problem.
You, I want to bury my face in you.
Yeah, it's just like, let me just smoosh you.
Yeah. It's actually their it's not their fur, it's their saliva. That we're allergic to because they lick their fur and clean themselves with their saliva. I found that out very late in life. But
hectic.
Yeah, but the thing is, I can't resist. You're so cute. I have an urge to pet you.
Yeah.
I think I read somewhere that like the human urge, when you see something real cute, your initial urge is like, I want to smoosh that. I just want to smoosh that. Because it's almost like a violent urge.
It is. It's like sometimes when I look at my dog and she just looks so cute and I'm like, I'm going to pick you up and just smoosh you right now. I just give her the biggest hug.
Yeah. It's because apparently we don't have like a primal thing built into our brains to react to like how we perceive cuteness. Yeah. So that it kind of joins to violence.
I've read that as well. It's interesting. It's so funny. It's so interesting. It's crazy.
When people look at babies and they're like, I just want to eat you. It's like
I can at least say I don't have that visceral reaction
I don't want to eat
to babies.
No,
I'm just like, can you just remove this child from my sight?
Remove the offensive thing from my sight.
I don't want to see how it's struggling to put a spoon in its mouth. Honestly. But that is a different...
That is a very different conversation. Going back to Japan and Korea, I think I know for you and for me, anime is a big part of for me at least, why I got exposed to the culture.
Yes,
and became more interested. I remember starting to read manga and stuff when I was in high school, and I got very curious about all these why are everyone's names preceded by kun and san,
yes,
and I read that these are respectful terms and you have to attach them to names. Respect is a huge thing in Japan. That was so interesting to me. You don't just go up to a person and be hey Lorien, that's rude.
It is. You address them, and even just their etiquette that you kind of get exposed to more when you do research, and because there's obviously a lot of people who are like, what to do when you're in Japan, what not to do, etiquette for when you're in Japan. And one thing I find very fascinating, when people hand things to other people in Japan, it's usually with two hands and you receive it with two hands. It's also just a respect thing. It's I acknowledge you giving me this thing, as far as I understand. And it's just so fascinating to see that kind of how respect is very different compared to how we experience it. And apparently on the trains it's very quiet. There's no chatting. People are just very chill, and they don't you don't eat in public. You have to go and find a designated area to eat.
Oh, that's interesting.
So it's not I'm gonna take my tuberiki and just walk down the road and eat it, like I would do. Yeah. But you have to either
Have you walked down the road and eaten a sandwich?
Have you never? I remember walking to classes, like I would go to the bakery and get a bagel and then go back to uni, and I would walk and eat the bagel on the way because of time crunch or whatever. But I mean, even while working, when I was running around looking for things, I would eat on the street because I had to eat while I was running to the next thing.
I had an immediate picture of you, like anime style, with a piece of toast in your mouth, just running.
I'm late for work.
Yep. But I definitely hate eating in public. I hate it. I don't want you to see me in my most vulnerable state. I'm nourishing myself. Don't watch me take a weird bite of the sandwich, because I eat weirdly too, like, and it's also like that thing of whenever I'm at a flippin' restaurant and I'm like, ooh, I've been waiting for this food, I've been waiting so long, and then I take my first like nasty bite, and then the waiter comes over and he's like, hey, how is it? And I'm just like,
yeah. I hate it when waiters do that. When they I feel like they watch you. They're like, I'm gonna wait until they
know. Oh.
Yeah, they watch you. They're like, I'm gonna wait for you to take a bite, and then I'm gonna come and ask you.
That would be a really good strategy if they knew that the food was real bad and didn't want the feedback, so that they just wait when you take the first bite, and they're like, oh, cool. Your mouth's full. Yeah, I'm going. Like, cool. I'm gonna go now.
Yeah, anyway. so it's wild. But even in Korea, the way, you obviously, I think even in Japan, you have your informal and formal speech.
Yes.
Where we really don't have it as bad. Obviously, you're a bit more formal, especially with jobs, but they're very if you haven't met someone, you're extremely formal. And age is also a very big, factor into how you address someone. And it's just quite fascinating, just to kind of see how that interaction works and how you address different types of people. And it's just very interesting to me, especially just language in general, how it works and how it differs from our language.
100%. We don't have things okay, we could address people as sir or Mr. So or ma'am or whatever, but I just feel like it's not the same. I know in Afrikaans also you have e versus eo. Yay. So that, I think that's cool. I think once we were having a conversation. My dad lives in London, and sometimes when we phone each other, we gossip about the people he works with or that he's around, and we don't want them to hear. So we'll speak Afrikaans, and it's very funny because he is a white man, but he's English white.
Yes.
He came from a Portuguese family. They never spoke Afrikaans. My mom's colored, but her Kombe's taal, whatever. I picked up some. I can understand Afrikaans, but I can't speak it really.
Yeah.
So the two of us are just brokenly yo, ma. And it's really funny, but we do get the message across.
Yeah.
It's one time the reason I brought this up is because one time he called me on the phone, and I was like, Father, what are you doing? You don't deserve that respect.
Oh my goodness, no. But yeah, languages in general are just really interesting. Afrikaans, okay, so the Afrikaans and English already are just wild. English is wild on its own. But then you look at other languages which have a completely different alphabet, and you're just what on earth? I know also French is a very, very weird language. In terms of the grammar, the grammar rules.
Oh, that too. Yes.
They're just grammar, we don't know her. It's
Spanish
crazy.
and stuff, they gender, just nouns and stuff. A table is female or whatever. Yeah. And I'm I don't know if I would survive. And they say English is the hardest language to learn, and I'm but how?
I feel it's because we have a lot of nuances. There's a lot of nuances
there's a lot of
to English.
Exceptions to the rule and stuff like that. I before E except after C, But then you have words like receipt. Wait, no.
Yeah, receipt.
No, that's right. That follows the rule. Anyway, you know what I mean.
Yeah. It's I was reading something quite interesting about English and how when you describe something, It's like the pink ball, the big pink ball.
I know.
You don't say the pink big ball because it sounds
there's an
weird.
order of descriptors.
Yeah. And that was like, I was like, and that's something you pick up naturally as a native speaker, and it's just fascinating when people are like, but why do you say it like this? Like this, it just sounds. You don't question it until someone brings it up to you. You know,
me not learning Stompy in high school and just going off of what sounds right. That literally was how I did Afrikaans. It was just like, okay, what sentence structure sounds right? You know. So
But I mean, Afrikaans as well is just another ball game. Like, I mean, I am Afrikaans and grammar is not my best. Like, I mean, I did pretty well in Afrikaans in high school, I'm not gonna lie, but it was a mission to understand all the rules.
High school.
True. But you know, when you pick it up naturally, you don't listen to the rules.
That's true.
It's not you don't listen, you just don't know them. This is just how it's been taught to you, but you don't understand why it's been taught that way, which is just fascinating. And it's just interesting to see the cultural differences in languages as well.
True. And like different dialects.
Like, yes.
You go to one place and they speak it a different way and they have a different accent.
So funny story. So my grandparents are German, right? So I can understand German. I'm not very good at speaking it. I can basic phrases. And my gran and my grandpa are from like one part of Germany. But her sister is from a different part of Germany. Or like she moved to a different part of Germany. I can understand my gran and my grandfather very well, but whenever my great aunt would come visit, I have no cooking clue what she is saying to me. I'm like, huh?
You're like
excuse? Yeah, I'm like, it's, and also because they speak fast, and I'm just like, hold on, wacht, stop the train, stop the train. I don't understand. Like, let's reverse. So just like in Germany as well, like even in my own family, the differences in the way they speak German is just very interesting. And even if you look at the UK, essentially the different
there's so many different accents that like I mean,
in
you
England,
go to Manchester and then it's one place. It's wild. Even if you look at South Africa and you look at the way like Afrikaans people speak Afrikaans versus how colored people speak Afrikaans, you know, like I remember viscerally, I've written about this before, being 5 years old and going to my ma's house and the family's there and whatever, and I think it was Eid, it was some like day that we were making a lot of food and whatever, and my aunt was there, my mom's older sister, and in Islamic culture or maybe even just color culture, you call her Titi, because like Titi means your older sister. So my Titi was speaking to me, and all I've ever heard Afrikaans-wise from my mom was scoldings at that age, I had no idea what she was saying to me. She spoke like she was chopping vegetables.
Oh my goodness.
And like a lot of other people do speak if they grew up, in a household where both parents speak Afrikaans. Their Afrikaans is likely to be very, very good, and they speak it at an extremely fast pace. And I've always been jealous of that. I'm like, that sounds so cool, also so intimidating, because if you come up to me on the street and you speak and you're chopping vegetables at me, I can't keep track. You could be threatening me or telling me you like my shoes. I have no idea. And that's so cool.
No, it is. It's very interesting. Language. But like going back to the England, like you said, there's different regions and they all have different dialects, and it's just so fascinating to see how they like pronounce 100%. It. Even the Scottish people have different dialects.
Oh my god!
Irish has different dialects, and it's wild.
It is. I love hearing them speak. I would literally, like, I came across like a Scottish TikToker, and all I wanted to do is listen to, like, I wanted to watch all her videos just so I could listen to her speak. It was magical.
I know.
She's so cool. Oh my gosh.
I know. It's wild. And just on that note, would you ever go to London? I know you said your dad's there, so I mean.
Yes. Okay. So I did put this on one of my, like, on my list. I think the only reason I would go to London is for my father. I did. That's the only place I've traveled to outside of South Africa. I went there in 2017. I was doing some work with this lady who's a milliner. She makes hats, you know. Now she's branched out into other things, but at that point I think she's preparing for like some sort of showcase or something. So we had to make hats from scratch, which
Oh goodness.
yeah, it was so I learned some cool stuff. Anyway, so I went there, but I also went there because my dad was there, you know. So I was thinking of it like a win-win. So I did spend a little bit of time with my dad, but what I really liked about the experience was I traveled alone, and this was the first time I'd ever flown, left South Africa, whatever. So it was kind of intimidating, but I really enjoyed it. Like just going around by myself in like to Qatar Airlines. So we stopped over at Qatar, and the mall was huge, and I mean most of it was like Gucci and stuff. So I couldn't really.
So you're just like, I'm gonna go look, but I'm gonna cry while I look at it.
In my sweatpants and my like scuffed like long coat because it's winter here.
Yeah.
It was summer over there.
Yeah.
So we literally stepped off the plane and got hit with like 45-degree air.
Hectic.
And I was sweating. So I'm not gonna go into Gucci. Look, absolutely disheveled. Anyway. So yeah, like the whole thing for me was the experience of traveling alone. I remember being in London also, like the vibes are so different. I think part of it is, whenever you're in a city, you feel the energy of people around you is very much focused and work and getting to where you need to be, which I think can be very alienating and make you feel like small, or if you live there for long. But because I was there for such a short time, I was like really swept up in it, and I was like, even me, I'm working and doing cool stuff. Look at me, I'm on the streets too. Let me, and like the fashion was really cool as well. Like I saw so many like young girls just absolutely, just like it was a flippant runway on the streets of London. So that was so cool. So I got a little bit more confident, and I started like pairing some stuff together and like getting excited about fashion and stuff. Like I was like, oh, I'm one of you, one of us, and that was really fun. The energy was very, very much like we're in a big city, we're here for a purpose, we're here to work, whatever. And I'm sure if you go outside into the country and whatever, the energy does shift. And I did enjoy that, but it can be a very cold place because not like literally, but figuratively as well. Like you don't like here, if you walk down the street and you make eye contact with someone, you do that weird like half like smile where you're like, oh, you're a stranger, like hey, but London, they just look past you, they look through you, there's no like real friendliness or like neighborliness, which is fine. I don't have to smile at every person I meet. In fact, I've been accosted on the streets many times by men who are like, oh, why you look so serious, why don't you smile, which I hate. But like, I don't know, you know what I mean. It's just like everyone's kind of focused and doing their business, and they don't really have time for the small kind of things. But that was okay. I kind of enjoyed that. It felt good to be a part of that for a little bit. So that's the only reason I would really go back to London is for my dad. And it is also very adjacent to places like Amsterdam, whatever, like the Netherlands. Like you can just hop on a train, go to Paris, or I think a ferry to Paris. But like, I think the centrality of it, but other than that, no, I wouldn't go back. Other than that, for my dad, besides for my dad. But I mean, it was a good time. I enjoyed myself.
No, that's cool. Like I feel like Europe in general is one of those places that is very accessible if you can get there. In terms of like traveling to the other places. Because I feel like I know I had a friend who went and au paired in the Netherlands, and she was every other weekend she was off in a different country, and I'm like, excuse what? Because they have trains. They have the trains. They have like ferries, and a plane ticket to another country is not as expensive as it would be here. But that was also like a few years ago.
True.
So it's just crazy. Like, I feel like if you do go live, like for me, if I would go live somewhere, I would like to go live in Europe, like for a year, just to, then I can, because then I have all these other places I can travel to.
Yeah, I mean, there's a big reason why people go hitchhiking in Europe, or like go abroad to Europe for like a year. I mean, it's so adjacent to everything. Like, there's everything you could want.
Yeah.
Spain, Portugal, Alice.
Yeah.
And Asia's right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's very, I've seen that it's very, like I said, accessible. It's a lot easier to travel around the different countries than it is even here.
Yeah.
Like you can hop on a train from Paris and go to Germany, for example. Yeah. I think they're next to each other. I could be very wrong. But yeah, that's the vibe. Like, you can literally travel from one country to another with not
an hour.
Yeah. It's not like a hassle,
Yeah, meanwhile, the furthest metro rail goes here is like Simonstown.
Yeah. Obviously, we have
rail.
The luxury trains that come from like Pretoria down to Cape Town. But I mean, those are like, I did tourism projects on that, and it was like, it's really expensive. And I'm like, no.
Like, even a Greyhound, like,
it's crazy. Yeah,
well,
but
I was gonna say, like, I mean, we've talked about the modern side of things. I know part of your, wish to go elsewhere is also like got to do with ancient,
yes,
the ancient side of things. You mentioned Greece and Egypt.
Yeah, so I have a big fascination for ancient, like, history. I like history. I'm more less interested in like actual people, and more like the mythology and the stories that were told in those days, because it's just fascinating, because it kind of depicts how people thought and how they kind of saw the world. And I'm very interested in like myths from different places, history in terms of like the different kind of stories that popped up during those times. And I would love to go to Greece and Egypt. I love Greek mythology. I love the history of Greece and Egypt, and just like, I've told you before, The Mummy is one of my favorite movies. I absolutely love The Mummy. I know it's not historically accurate, but it's just that the being in these temples and the pyramids. And I actually have I used to watch, I have a DVD that my parents got me for my birthday, which was like a whole documentary on like the pyramids and why they were built, and how they align to like not the Southern Cross, Orion's belt.
Yes, that's fascinating.
It's fascinating, and how it was built in terms of like the pharaoh's soul being released, and how they had these shafts, obviously. So they had like shafts they have the shafts in the tombs, specifically the pyramids, where it would point out to the sky, and I think it's their car, which is like one half of their spirit, which goes up to like heaven, to the God's realm, and they ascend basically through these shafts that they built into the pyramids. I could be misremembering a lot of this, but that's kind of what I remember. And it's just interesting to see like how they've, like, even just, so a fun fact, but a fact is, when a pharaoh died, usually all their slaves and like all their things were kind of killed off with them. They would be buried with the pharaoh.
That's not a fun fact.
Like I said, I could be misremembering a lot of this, but I feel like I've read something like that.
That sounds pretty legit. Yeah. I mean, a temple
because they would
just
find
be one pharaoh.
No. Yeah. But as far as I remember, that they were buried with, like, slaves were buried with their pharaohs. I know animals as well, mummified cats, and I think there were even like geese were mummified with them because of, their significance. And then also just like the amount, like the rituals they performed and things like that, specifically in Egypt and even in Greece. I feel like Greece, I think, was a bit more structured. Like, it wasn't as ritualistic as Egypt, as far as I understand. Obviously all of them had their own rituals, but I feel like Egypt was very much a very ritualistic culture.
I feel like Greece was a lot of like, they had their gods and their deities, but there was also a huge focus on entertainment and storytelling.
Yes.
I mean, the amphitheater that came from Greece, you know, like their plays, their tragedies, their whatever, you know. I mean, they kind of paved the way for entertainment as we know it, I think. Yeah. Which is fascinating.
Yeah. And then also like going to Italy. I would love to go to Italy just because that was where Rome was, you know, back in the day, and like the hub of a huge empire way back when. And that would be so fascinating to go see all those sites and just experience the history that like this city has gone through. And I think that's also a big driving factor for me for a lot of places I want to go to, is the history and the reasoning behind it, of like how it came to be, and or like what kind of stories were told, and how they kind of predicted things with like, you know, with their myths and stuff. And I remember because like Cyprus is one of the islands off of Greece, as far as I understand, but it's in the Mediterranean basically. So there on that island is the Temple of Aphrodite, if I remember correctly. I did a whole project on this in like grade 10. I did a speech about it, and the Temple of Aphrodite is located there. So like, who wouldn't want to go to the temple where it's the love goddess, you know? And it's just I know. And I would love to go see just all the temples, all the things like that, and just experience like these really interesting places. And another place I would love to go is like South America, to like Machu Picchu, I think, is in South America. I'm just trying to think which like pyramids and things.
I understand.
Because there's another one in Mexico that's also a bunch of Aztec temples, I think. And I would love to see that as well.
Are those the ones? I know in Mexico there's this, I think, if I'm not mistaken, there's this like city that's been kind of buried almost, because of like just conditions, like, you know, and I think that's super cool. Again, kind of similar to the catacombs, but like it's an entire city just under the level of the ground, you know.
Yeah.
Just like, I completely understand fascination with historical artifacts and buildings and temples and stuff like that. I mean, it's a whole different ball game, especially because it was inspired or at a time of the gods and, you know, the deities that existed, and different forms of beliefs like before, you know, like enlightenment and all of that, you know.
Yeah, but like just going back to like, I think it was Aztec culture, you know, their rituals and things were pretty violent. Like
Romans,
I know there was a ritual where they would basically pick someone and they would take them to the top of the temple, like, you know, those stepped temples. I can't remember what it was for exactly, but then they would chop off their heads and it would roll down the stairs and it would predict something, as far as I think. I could be lying to everyone right now, but this is, I think, something I do
really
remember.
Funny to think like how the head lands or what it does on the way down.
But I mean, they had a lot of like blood sacrifices for, you know, certain times of the year, and even their mythology and their just like the way the gods were kind of depicted. Like, I'm gonna use it's probably not the best movie to use as a reference, but The Road to El Dorado. It's quite interesting just in the way that the gods demand blood, and that's like the whole thing,
and sacrifice,
and exactly, and it's just they do cleansings of the city when it's a new year or whatever.
Or they like do a ritual for, you know, good crops and harvest in like the winter, you know, months where they struggle and things like that.
And that's just so interesting to kind of see. And Machu Picchu, I think, is the one in South America, if I remember correctly. And just also there, like, you have a whole hike up to this historic place, and that would be so amazing to go and just like see the ruins there. So a lot of places I want to go to are centered around like ruins and history and a lot of mythology and things like that, because I find it absolutely fascinating. It's just so interesting.
The only reason I didn't cover that is because you stole it. No, I'm kidding. But yeah, I mean, also Greek food. Hell yes.
Yeah.
And Greece in general is so redonkulously beautiful. Like, I can't, aside from the temples and all that amazing stuff.
Yeah, just, I mean, the beaches.
Yes, it's
Yeah.
crazy. I think for me, aside from those cool historical places, and I have Aurora Borealis on my list, which is like you can go to different places to experience the aurora, but like I think Sweden is possibly the best, because I was reading up at some point and they have like these weird, like cool floating ice islands, and like I don't know, it's like they're houses that you can stay at with working like gas stoves and stuff like that, but they're floating, little dwellings and stuff. Like, it's so cool. And just the idea of being at, like this, like I said, it's kind of romantic with a capital R, like, not caps. Like the romantic love kind of thing, you know, like I was talking about the southernmost tip of Africa. It kind of ties into that, like the feeling of being somewhere important or big or significant with something so crazy and mystical and beautiful above your head. I like the feeling of feeling small, in comparison to like something greater. I like the idea of something greater than me that, I struggle to perceive, or that's ties back into like our previous podcast about movies. Like I like to be confused and freaked out.
But that's another thing for me as well when like traveling. I love looking at the stars.
Yes.
And like I remember when we were in the Drakensberg, I mean, you're in the middle of the mountains away from all the light pollution, and I was like just so amazed by the amount of stars I saw, and it was just something I kept looking at every evening, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is the coolest thing ever. My friend and I wanted to go to Sutherland to go and like also look at stars, and that's also kind of just one of the things I love doing, is like when I'm going to a place, I wanna experience like kind of the stars. I love just stars in space is just cool. And experiencing it in the evenings where you're away from civilization and you can actually experience them as they were meant to be is just something really cool. And I feel like a lot of like Sweden, and I'm trying to think where else, but Sweden is the one I'm thinking of now. But I think because it's so mountainous. Norway is another place. I think because you can easily kind of see the stars there.
And it's crazy just to think that the only thing stopping us here is just the light pollution, but that they're always there and they're always that beautiful. We just can't see them.
It's sad. It's kind of sad. So I mean, sad. I would love to just go to places where you can go and stargaze as well.
Speaking of stargazing and the feeling of being just one with nature and all that hippie stuff, I recently I think I've been watching this girl on TikTok, occasionally on and off, but she disappeared for a bit, and it turns out that she was living in this big hippie commune. She was living this like totally off the land life, and they would literally just live in tents and be in the middle of a forest and cook and find their own food and stuff like that. It's so crazy, because I've told you about this before. Like, one of my things at the end of my life is I just want to move to a place and just be away from society and like just with animals and nature and Wi-Fi. Though Wi-Fi is very couldn't live without it. The place must have Wi-Fi.
No questions. Wi-Fi.
No. That's something that I really want to do, just to have that feeling of being away from all of the nonsense of the world. I think it's so, and I would love to have a farm, animals wise, like we're both huge animal lovers, and it doesn't just extend to cats and dogs. Like I would love the whole flippin' caboodle. I want a cow. I want a pig.
Cows
I
are
want a
so
sheep.
cute.
Yes, they're
Cows
so
are so cute.
I saw on TikTok that if you go, I talk about TikTok too much, but if they like music. Music. I saw a video of this girl playing, I think it was her guitar and singing or something, and she was lying on this, like little picnic blanket, and a cow came over to listen to her, and it laid down, and it put like its little head down next to her and slept. So cute. Anyway, there's such.
Such beans.
Chickens, maybe not. We actually work with someone though who has like 10 chickens, which I think is so cool. Like just running around.
Yeah.
She
It's
calls
wild.
them the ladies. The ladies. I like that.
Yeah, it's hectic. But yeah, I think. Okay, but like since we're on the train of like where would you go if you could, I think it would be cool to kind of delve into imaginary realms as well.
Yes.
Just because I know from experience there's a lot of times where I've read a story or I've watched a show and I'm like, damn, I want to go to this world so bad. I want to just experience it for myself. And I feel like it's a lot more unattainable than actually traveling, which is kind of sad. But yeah, where would you go if you could like go to any fictional world?
Number 1, Wakanda forever. When I first watched Black Panther, I was in the movies, thankfully. I think that like, you know how they say, oh, you're supposed to watch Marvel movies in the movies, in the cinema, like I've done the marathon at home and it's great and whatever, but I think that one was so important to watch in the cinema because I just got this immense sort of joy. Again, it ties back to like representation in the media and stuff like that, but I got so excited because the people on the screen were saying Osa, and it was the big thing for me was the juxtaposition of like modern, extremely advanced technology and like cities and right next to nature and culture and tradition. Like you would see in Wakanda there would be like like a skyscraper building or whatever, and right below it it's like these beautiful trees and this beautiful land and whatever, and then you go out a little bit further and then there's like these markets like you could see here in South Africa, like a market full of like beautiful black women selling their goods, and whatever, and like the clothes are made of like vibranium, but they are like traditional African clothing, and it's so cool. Like to imagine a world like that, where my people, like the like my South African people could live and like have that kind of beauty and like the mixing. I just really love the mixing of like old and new, modern and like ancient. Like I was talking earlier about Portal, and the whole thing is that like it's this ancient, well, it's not ancient, it's like very far in the future, like the technology is still crisp and whatever, but no one's inhabited the buildings for so long that nature's kind of taken over. So you'll get this crazy shot of like a huge building and outside and whatever, and you go in and the flowers and vines and stuff have started creeping in and taking over the floors. It's so amazing. I love looking at stuff like that, because I think it ties back to like the whole thing about like nature over modern life and whatever. Eventually nature will take over again, and it's just a matter of time. I like that kind of idea. But that's Wakanda I think is a beautiful example of where those two mix, and it's so exciting, and the culture and the people, the food, because it's also similar to what we have here but cooler, it's vibranium.
I remember watching that movie and it was like hectic. This is so cool. It was awesome. Really cool to see. I think it was just really cool to see how people got excited for that movie as well.
Yes.
Because I mean, obviously for me it's a different, like, I could relate to it, but I could see how important it was for other people.
Yes. 100%.
Like it was just, yeah, it was really cool to see people being represented in that way. But it's just a cool world in general. But I think the Marvel Cinematic Universe as well is just a cool kind of world.
I wouldn't want to live in like a New York or whatever in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, because everything gets destroyed.
Yeah, it's constantly, if you're fighting, it's in New York.
Yeah. You're gonna collapse some buildings. So yeah, Wakanda would be number 1 for me. What about you?
So okay, here's my thing, right? I play a lot of games. I do. I know I didn't say, I know in the first episode I said I wasn't an avid gamer, but the thing is, I think for me, when I say that, it means I'm not playing all the games that other people are playing. I'm very much, I don't like playing online in terms of like
multiplayer.
Yeah, I don't even know. Yeah, I don't like playing with other people.
Understandable.
I like to experience games and things by myself. So I tend to go for a lot of the story-driven games.
Yes.
Single player, story-driven games that I enjoy. And Genshin Impact is a game at the moment that I've been obsessed with for the past, since it came out last year. It's so good. And it's got a very good story, and I would love to be in that world, honestly.
It is beautiful.
It is so pretty, but not even that, just in terms of like the kind of the magic, I don't say the magic system, but the kind of the power system they have got going is really cool. And it's just, I mean, who wouldn't want to live in a place where it's like traditional? So like the one area is based off of Germany and the other one is based off of China, but it's more traditional Germany, traditional China.
Yes.
With the very specific, not specific, but the very distinctive architecture, and the scenery is just very nice. And it's just a lot of undisturbed like land, and obviously it's got its monsters and things, but it's just really cool to kind of, I would love to go exploring. I would love to run around those two places. Obviously there's a whole other like 5 countries that still need to be released. The one is hopefully coming soon. So and that one's going to be based off Japan. So I'm pretty excited to see how it's going to go.
That is so cool.
But it's just, I would love to run around as one of those characters and just kind of experience that world. And another game I would love to kind of just hang out in is Undertale, which is just a very happy. I mean, it gets kind of dark sometimes. But it's just overall a very happy game.
Yeah.
And I think it would be nice to hang out with those characters.
I was just thinking now, if I could hang out in a game, what game would it be? And then immediately, I have little to no gaming experience, but immediately Minecraft popped into my head, and I'm thinking, wow, a block world would be kind of dope, honestly. Just based off of what you could do. And I know they've introduced mod packs and stuff like that.
Yeah,
it makes it look like an actual world, which is the trippiest thing. I am getting off track, but I know what you mean with Genshin, because Avatar: The Last Airbender talked about this in the last episode. One of the best shows. Again, like with Genshin, it's like you can tell it's modeled after. Well, first of all, like the nations and whatever are modeled after like places that actually exist. Like the Fire Nation is like very closely tied to, I think was it Japan, right? Japanese culture?
So.
Was it Chinese culture?
It was one of the two. I can't remember.
Yes, and it's so cool, and like the air nomads are kind of like after the monks, and it's so wide and again ancient, like all these buildings and all this, it's a very old time, and so you've still got that feeling of nature and wide openness and everything. And again, it is a magical world. So much so that kind of also takes plays into it. And I think for me, the coolest place there was definitely the air temples. If you've never
Yeah.
watched Avatar, like they're these huge, like first of all the bending, like you bend different elements or whatever, but the air guys, they bend air and whatever, but because of who they are, like they're very isolated and whatever, their temples are huge and they are raised so far up in the sky, like they built them so high that no one else could get up to there without having the airbending ability. And there's a lot of like really creative ways that they designed the air temples with.
yeah.
Like, some were built into the side of cliffs, some were just like huge stone monuments ascending into the air, and the architecture inside of it, I mean, it's a cartoon.
Yeah.
But it was still so like beautiful. I would love to like see a movie version of that. Well, okay, they are making a live action, but I'm not invested in that.
No.
But I would be interested to see how they design and make that come to life.
Yeah. I think another world for me that I was very much that I very much want to go into, like there's a lot of anime worlds that I would love to go to, just to kind of experience the world as it is. Like for a long time, I'm not gonna lie to you, I was obsessed with Bleach. It's an anime. I'm busy showing it to my sister because she's never watched it. And I just loved it. It was so cool, and I was like, if I could, I would go to this world and be a Soul Reaper and just do this for the rest of my life. And it was just it's weird. It's weird how you want to be in these different places. Percy Jackson was another thing. I was like, I want to go, like 13-year-old me reading these for the first time, going like, I want to be a demigod too. I want to go and fight things. And it's just funny because it's interesting. Like it's weird how you go through these phases of like these different worlds that you want to be in.
Yeah, and it's also like, it's funny because we're talking about where we would go and why, but you can't separate these fictional worlds, like the actual landscapes and places themselves, from the nature of how they created, like the magic engine or the soul reaping and Bleach and whatever, like the culture and development of those worlds. That's a real big part of why we would go there. Like I had as a joke on my list for places I would go fictionally, the 100 Acre Woods, as in where Winnie the Pooh lives.
I mean, okay, so funnily enough, I'm watching someone play through Kingdom Hearts because obviously I can't play it myself. I don't have the equipment for it.
You don't have the facilities for that, big man.
Yeah. And I would love to play it myself, but life. One day maybe. But anyway, so I'm getting off track. So I'm watching her play through it, and Winnie the Pooh is so nostalgic to me. And like so in the game, you would go and visit Winnie the Pooh, and you'd have to do things for them. And it was just like so nostalgic to see him in this game, and just like his little think. Yeah.
He was so cute. Like, oh man. Yeah.
So,
Who wouldn't want to go like hang around with those guys?
Yeah.
I'll go to Kanga's house because number one, she has a kid, right? She has Rue.
Yeah.
So you can get into like shenanigans over at Kanga's house,
Yeah, and she'd feed you and tell you how much she loves you.
She would feed you. I would want to be in her pocket, her little kangaroo pouch. I think it would be too big, but like, that's something that's so cool to me. Like just the idea of like an animal that has a pocket for its babies. Kids
must be
misbehaving.
Are wild,
shove them in the pocket. She did that to Rue. Poor Rue.
Yeah. Just like no the adult. I remember. Okay, so I don't know if you've watched Horton Hears a Who.
Yes, I have.
So where the mom, I can't remember her name, but she's got her kid Rudy in the pouch, and she's like, Rudy, go to your room, and she stuffs him into the pouch like the adults are talking, and then they proceed to have a whole conversation. It's wild.
That's amazing.
But I mean, I I feel like for wholesomeness, I would definitely want to go to the
Yes, I wouldn't want to live there because I think I would break that world. Like I just like one fuck and then poo and everyone is like,
oh, friend.
I would feel so bad.
Yeah, it's crazy. I find it also just very fascinating the kind of worlds people kind of drift towards.
Yeah, like what's comforting for you, what's nostalgic, what do you value, and what are you interested in most. Tells you a lot about a person.
Yeah, I was also I was just also thinking like I said I watch a lot. Oh, another thing, I would love to be in the Mummy. Like I would love to be in that universe. Just
Would you like to be chased around by I've never watched the Mummy. The Mummy
by a
chased
mummy,
them, right?
Yes. So Imhotep comes after you and is like, I'm gonna suck. So basically, I'm gonna give you what happens in the movie since you've never watched it, which is very shocking to me, and now you have to go watch it after this. So basically, it's about Evie and Rick who end up going to this place that's like cursed because Imhotep was a priest in ye olden days, like 3,000 years ago, and he was cheating. The pharaoh's wife was cheating on him with this priest, and they were like, we're gonna kill the pharaoh and I'll be with you forever, basically. So they're in love and whatnot. So obviously he got punished because that's the pharaoh's wife, and so basically he got buried alive, and he basically said, I will come back one day and I'm gonna get revenge on all those who wronged me or who opened my coffin.
Okay.
So Evie, being the little archaeologist she is, finds this one, and she accidentally basically releases him onto the world.
I see.
But then he has to regenerate, and he ends up like sucking people dry.
Is
for
that
like their
where
life
kind of
force.
meta comes from? Okay, I see.
Because the one group that they were there with opened up another chest, and because they opened up this tomb or this like specific area, anyone who basically opened it was going to be cursed, and then Imhotep was going to come and suck their life force out of them, which is where they got that. So she basically got chased by the Mummy, and it was just really cool. I love it. It's very cliche, but I really enjoyed it.
This week on the Lolly Cube podcast, Lorien recaps the plot of The Mummy.
Honestly. I'm going to talk about The Mummy so much because I absolutely love it. And it's also just one of those movies that ties into my just like nerdy history brain.
Yes, yeah. I see.
Another movie is like Atlantis. I would love to go to Atlantis.
It's Atlantis is in the place under the ocean, right?
Yes. But specifically the one in the Disney version.
Yes, of course. I think the one if it were to be a real thing in real life would be pretty scary.
Oh no, definitely. Yeah. It's crazy.
Underwater, man. I mean the ocean. Let me not even get started.
Yeah, let's not talk about the ocean.
Ooh, I also just thought about video games. Tomb Raider.
Yes!
Speaking of the Mummy, why would you? That would be the perfect for both of us, because then we get the ruins, we get the the Mummy kind of
people chasing after you,
archaeologist kind of vibes, and there's lots of puzzles too. I don't know if I like puzzle games, but they do enthrall me. Like I remember playing Tomb Raider at Legends, I think. And obviously, she goes around the tombs, and they're all really beautiful, and they're all really tough to solve. My main thing is I like swinging from things.
Grappling hook.
Because I don't really like FPS, like first person shooters. I'm not a huge fan.
No.
My aim is cuck, but like the whole swinging acrobatic stuff, that is my jam. My main thing was, I think in the older games, you get to like practice in the manor, and so there's like mattresses, there's like secret places you can swing from and do like find certain things like items and tricks and whatever. I spent like 90% of the game in there. It was the most fun, I was like, why must I go to actual missions when I can do this?
If I can just do this, I was actually also just thinking I'd love to be Link in any Zelda game. Obviously I feel like this poor boy's gone through some trauma though.
100%.
But yeah,
I mean,
I'd love to just kind of be Link.
Yeah, any game you're gonna play, you're gonna you're gonna get shot at, or like, you know.
Yeah, but no, but it's more like he's just been through a lot. You know,
Yeah, man.
like he's had some hard times.
This week on the Lottie Q podcast, Lorien recaps
Like, I mean, if you look
Link's
at-
trauma.
Honestly, no, I mean, so like Ocarina of Time, I've only watched people play through these because I obviously, once again, can't play through them myself.
Yeah.
But he's literally he's a child. When the game starts, he's a child, and then he gets basically flung into the future, and then he's basically a young adult or teenager. I don't know. I can't remember.
That's messed up.
But now he's got to basically shift between and he's got to shift between these two stages to finish like different parts of the map and whatnot. But he kind of gets upset with, I think it was Zelda who sent him forward in time. I can't remember. It's been a while since I watched it.
Understandable.
And he was like, and he's like, he missed basically all his childhood years, you know, and is immediately like a grown up. And I'm like, that must suck. That must suck so bad. So like, and then you get the whole timeline splitting, and there's just a whole bunch of stuff, and like a lot of stuff happens, and this poor boy's just been through a lot.
Poor Link. This one goes out to Link. Shout out to the homie.
Yeah. But fictional worlds are fun though. I do think that it's a good.
It's a nice escape. There's something to be said about like
It is.
daydreaming and stuff. I don't go to sleep without throwing myself into like my favorite fictional world. Like it's a comforting thing. I'm just one of the main characters in there for some reason.
Yeah. Like also just whenever I go to sleep, I put on a Studio Ghibli movie because I like the animation and I like the story, and it's just a comforting story.
Yeah.
And I think that's a big thing as well, why we want to go to these fictions. It's escapism, really.
True. I mean, even with just any place in life, why are you going there? It's to escape. Well, maybe not like you're running away, but like you want something new, something different.
Yeah, something
different
challenging.
opportunity.
Yeah,
That's the
hectic.
reason.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully one day, once the pandemic's calmed down a bit more, we can all kind of get back to living life again. And I mean, I'm not saying we're not living life right now, but you know, some experiences have been
put on hold.
Yeah.
It does kind of feel like a stasis in certain ways, but yeah, I definitely think as soon as I'm able to, I'd love to travel.
Definitely. Yeah, once everything's kind of calmed down again, I think I would like to hit some of these areas that I have on my list.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm excited to see new things and new places. And yeah, it's just nice to kind of talk about
The
our
possibilities.
dreams. Yeah, the places we'd like to go, and yeah, kind of give you guys a bit of insights into why and where we want to go. And yeah, if you guys want to tell us where you'd like to go, you can let us know. We have a comments section.
Give us some travel tips, you know.
Yeah, if you've been to any of these places, let us know the do's and don'ts. What your favorite experience was. We'd love to hear from you. Yeah, and then while you're busy commenting, you can like and subscribe as well.
Yeah, check us out on our different platforms. We have Instagram and Twitter. We'll link those. And yeah, just come talk to us, hang out, and have a good time.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks for listening.
Have a great day, and we will see you next week. Bye.
Bye.